Yo, what is up, you guys? So today I conducted an interview with a few community members around PvP specifically, one of which is a former top-ranked player through 2nd and 4th age named Fred the Tank. He's a very active user on the Wiz Twitter. I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably seen him. The second is one of a friend of mine on Discord named Ryan. He's a current casual player. He's been around the community for a long time. Then the third of which is AwesomeTheSauce himself, the top streamer right now and a highly ranked competitive PvP player at the moment. I asked them 6 questions, and today I'm going to be discussing their answers and wrap some of my opinions in there as well, just so you guys can get a good solid view. If you guys like this type of content, feel free to drop a sub on my channel and drop comments. Let me know how these videos are doing, and I hope I can make more of these in the future. So question 1 I asked them was, do they currently play PvP? Obviously the former top player does not anymore, but the other 2 still do. So the second question I jumped right into is, have they played PvP in the past? Of course, all 3 of them have. And then the third question was, how do they feel about how OP spells are behind locked packs right now, and key bosses giving gold keys are extremely limited right now? Fred the Tank says it is not good for PvP. One, it makes it so hard to get into PvP, which is true. Not having these spells is a huge disadvantage in the game. It's either pay to win or you have to dedicate your entire life to grinding on Wiz to be able to compete. Gold keys are too limited. It should not be this hard to get. Absolutely true, and Wiz has never been this grindy in the past, for sure. In terms of going to the free-to-play route, it definitely has not been this grindy until raids were introduced. It was usually you had to do some tournaments and stuff like that to get tickets to be able to buy a few pieces of gear you need for PvP. Other than that, there was really never that crazy of a barrier of entry. The casual player says, honestly, it sucks for everyone to be competitive in the current meta. Every little stat and spell upgrade very matters. Absolutely true, especially in terms of mirror and counter matchups. If you're missing a few stats here or there, that's going to make or break the match. Looking past the greed of KI, which does them no favors, even if the person decided they want a PvP today, the barriers of entry are way too massive. Absolutely. Even if you're not going the free-to-play route, all of these spell quests and the spellman farming and the pin farming you have to do is insane. It's not fun. The reward for it is not worth it, because personally, as a PvPer who needs spells, he hates what they've done. Absolutely, I agree completely. Saw says, as in the video that he made about packs specifically, he thinks the Burrow pack, though it actually adds cool utilities and unique spells, is a step backwards, because PvP has become more pay to win with that pack specifically. Absolutely true, because this gear is honestly competitive and damn near better than all of the raid gear which we found for last year, on top of the fact that for life, specifically and storm, these spells in this pack and myth on top of myth at every level are incredible. If you don't have them, you're not going to compete anywhere near the same level as you would if you did not, or if you did have them. Like, it's not even close. So that is the response to that question. The fourth question I asked them is, how do they feel about most of the meta gear being in packs? The former top ranked player says he's not going to spend money on pack gear just to play low skill, unfun rushable PvP. Obviously this opinion is based around the fact that he does not enjoy the current updates they've been making to the game for the past year and a half. Plus, they will change the spells in the meta in a month anyway, so why would you go for gear when it plays in a month? This opinion is absolutely true. Over the last 4 months, we've seen 4 packs and gauntlets be dropped in the game just to change up the gear every time, and every single one of these pieces of gear outlasts something that we had before. The meta gear has changed for every single piece of gear except for the wand. Every single school is running basically completely different gear than they were 4 months ago, and that is true, and it's all pack gear right now. It's all pack gear. The casual player says he doesn't really mind the meta gear being behind packs as long as there's a way to acquire them in free-to-play options. Of course, this ties in straight to the Burrow gear, because you cannot currently get the Burrow gear anywhere else than in the pack. The pack should be a quick and easy way for the player to acquire gear, assuming the free-to-play gear is equal to the stats. This is the one take I agree with completely. I think there's no issue with all this gear being in packs, as long as there's gear decently acquirable in the game that is equal stats. You should not have to be free-to-play and have significantly worse stats than someone who paid. It should be equal. Being able to pay should just be, cutting corners and a shortcut to actually getting the gear you need. And then, of course, Sauce had mentioned that before. This is really the only time we ever seen gear in the last, 3 years since the Motors robe that is only in packs and not acquirable in the game by some way. And if it was by either crafting or something like that, it was always dropped. Like the gear we got last year from the summer update was craftable. So, and that was in a gauntlet. This is one of the first times we've seen gear not in a gauntlet, not in the game, dropped somewhere that is highly competitive in PvP. So the fifth question I asked them was just specifically for the top player before. I had to summarize his answer because it was too long. What update made him quit PvP? And obviously, pre-enchants and Rochambeau are the biggest one. That drove away a lot of the community just because the game had changed so much. It was literally a shell of what it was before. It was so unrecognizable. On top of the fact that the overall community is shot down, not even including the mute ban, which in my opinion was one of the biggest, mistakes from the dev team that really shot down the community. But just a lot of people started to quit. A lot of the original players that were around back in second and third and first and even early fourth age are gone now. And that is really where it ties in. But he did say that if there was a no Rochambeau league, specifically no Rochambeaus and no Rochambeau spellments, including the ramp spells like Centaur and stuff like that, Wyvern, that are just, incorporating Rochambeaus. If there's no spellments, it's just very linear, just card PvP. You're not using multiple different versions of the same card. You're just using, every single spell your school has to offer. Would he come back? And he said yes. Now, this is the shared opinion of a lot of the legacy players, like old streamers like Zeus Devo, people like those. They would really prefer a no Rochambeau league. And while Rochambeau has become kind of a cornerstone of the combat in the game, there's no reason why we don't have this system already in place. We know they have ability to change up card and deck requirements and stat requirements in tournaments. Which is, don't even get me started with tournaments, because honestly, if tournaments were still a keystone of the game, that would be a big way to incentivize people to come back. If you add all of these the new pack gear, craftable with tickets, and then you add no Rochambeau back in as a tournament maybe, and have that reward be tickets, that would solve so many issues, because all the people who quit the game because the gear is not craftable can now do tournaments with old stats that they like and old gear that they like to become more familiar with the game, and whilst doing so they will also be working towards getting their gear, and they don't have to spend and just shell out all the money when they don't really know if they're going to enjoy the experience. So for the two people who do currently play the game, I asked what update has hurt the game the most. Obviously not what made them quit, because they are still playing, but what hurt the most. And the casual player said Rochambeau, because he's seen a lot of PvP players come and go, and because none of them have really made the game change as much, like new mechanics, and it really doesn't help the devs that don't play the game and don't listen to the consensus of the players, because that has contributed a lot to people who quit, which is very true. The devs do not make conscious decisions based on the general community opinion. They kind of just go for whatever their plan is for the game, because we know they have this roadmap. The entire game over the next few years is planned out. When the game changes, people come and go, and the meta changes. The devs know the meta changes. Players find new things every day to try to do, and that changes the meta. There are strategies I know that the devs have not thought of, and they're just trying to push this dual schooling when there are more, ways to play the game that would actually, be beneficial and be entertaining for people. Sauce said that in his opinion, the PvP update that hurt the most is the current one, because of how pay to win the actual barrier of entry is. But he is glad that there's a raid so that he can have other content to stream to keep him away from PvP, because sniping is still prevalent, timering is still prevalent, harassment is still very prevalent in the game, on top of the fact that stats are unbalanced, spells are unbalanced, spells are pay to win, stuff like that. It's just way overdone. And then the casual player said, what are his thoughts on a no Rochambeau no spellman league if they were to implement that? He said it would be nice, but he thinks the damage has already been done, as most players have already left, and there's no way that they would do that, especially without other forms of income, which they at some point they have to cut their losses and just get players back in the game. He says even if that is going to happen, it's going to split the already dwindling scene in half and limit the amount of matches of each league. Now, to be fair, this is the general opinion back when they split all the queue up into 4 leagues, and while the game did die down in community numbers, I don't believe that is the reason why. I don't think the game died because they split it into 4 4 different groups of levels. And actually now with level scaling being a thing, that is not really that big of an issue. I think that he does have a point with the dwindling, of the community and the damage already been done. But I think by adding that, it is not only an intro for a lot of people who aren't really familiar with the advanced combat spells like Rochambeaus and Gambits. It is a nice, mode to actually engage in player versus player combat with spells that they're familiar with. But I also do feel like it would bring back some legacy players to actually play this, and would get a lot of non-PvP players starting to learn, the tempo of regular PvP before throwing them in to the lion's cage of Rochambeau and Gambits like that. So again, if you guys like these types of videos, drop, content creators you want to see, drop different video ideas. I'm very open to doing different ideas for you guys. With that being said, that is all I have. If you guys are wondering, I did win this match. It is a 40-minute match, so I'm not going to post the whole thing because I honestly cannot spend the time narrating that. But if you guys have any other things, feel free to add me on Discord, join my Discord, follow me on Twitter. Everything is in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one.